Hey everybody, Ray here. One of my hobbies is to play and record a little bit of music. And this is my workstation that I use. One thing I found is, like with any other hobby, over time you accumulate more and more of the tools you need to support that hobby. My latest tool was to go out and get a synthesizer keyboard to play along with my recordings. What I found is I now have just taken up too much space on my desk. I have to reach over the keyboard to get to my laptop recording station, and it has to now sit on a box. So here's my plan. I'm going to put a sliding drawer under here on which I'll place this keyboard. And when I'm not using it, I'll be able to slide it out of the way, and I'll free up all my desk space again. If a project like this has interest to you, stick around. I'll show you how I do it. And don't forget, if you like the video, hit that like button and subscribe. As with most projects that I do, and it's probably the same way for you, there's a little bit of a unique kind of a situation here, in that my drawer slider will attach to the desk back in this area here. This lip actually extends out about 8 inches from the main desk area. So I had to get sliders that would expand out such that I can connect them to the desk, and they will slide out and still give me enough room out here that I can set my keyboard on this. These sliders were about $15. These are 14-inch sliders. I think they call them extendable sliders. They're very nice ball-bearing sliders, so I think they'll work just fine, but just a little bit of a hiccup in my planning when I started to think about how I'd do this. So what I need to do is to drop my slider down so I have enough space to get the keyboard in and out here. This is just a 3.5-inch piece of scrap wood, a 1x4 scrap wood, and I think that that's going to be perfect. I measured my keyboard and then where the 3/4-inch shelf would be that I'll hold the keyboard to, and that should be about right. Now, one thing that you may or may not be able to see is that this piece here actually comes out a little further than the side piece. So on the back end, I'll have to shim this out a little bit to make sure that that slider is absolutely even as it goes back and forth that desk. But that won't be any big deal. We'll just do that with some washers. Mounting the track on the other side of the desk here is proving to be just a little bit more interesting. First of all, I noticed that this leg here supports a lot of weight, and it was just a little bit wobbly. So I went ahead and put an extra corner bracket in here that should make this side of the desk much more solid. Secondly, there's no really flat place to mount the bracket for the drawer, sliding drawer. So I'm going to mount it here, but you'll see that my screw hole areas are back here to mount this bracket. There's a screw right here. There's a screw hole up here that's perfect against this leg. So what I will have to do is just put a small block in here behind this so I can mount that bracket to that block, and that'll work just fine. I was lucky in that a 3/4-inch board actually fits flush with this leg in here. So that's going to work perfectly. So we simply mounted that little backer board there with 2 screws. And then we will mount our bracket to that and to the front. It'll just be a couple of little screws to do that. The keyboard is very light, so I'm not very concerned about weight. Now, if you remember, we're back on the first side here, and I mentioned there was a little lip here. So I had to shim this. Well, it was a pretty small area, but I did find that actually just the packaging folded over one time the cardboard packaging that this came in was actually the perfect shim. So I can just slip that right in behind there. You can see I've already put a screw in here, put a screw in here. Because this is only a 1/4 of an inch board here, I'll put a couple of more screws in, but then this side will be done as well. All right, our project is coming along really well here. Both of our sliders are mounted and ready to go. Now all I have to do is measure the distance between here, between one slider and the other, which is 32 and 5/8 inches. And I will cut a 1x10 board that will fit between these two, screw that on. Essentially, this project's done. This is working out better than I thought it might, even though we had a couple of unique things to work around. We've cut our board to the correct length. Now we want to mount the shelf board to our slider. So to make this easier, we'll remove the outermost portion of the slider, and we'll do that by, there's a little plastic hinge here, and you just press that down and it'll allow you to pull that slider out. To mount your slider, you'll just line up the end of the slider with the edge of your board, position it where you want it to be, and then just mark where to put your screws. You can drill a small pilot hole. And then simply just position your slider and put the screws in. Now we're ready just to line up our shelf and outside sliders, match them up with the inside sliders. Make sure that they click in there. And there you go. Let's see how that looks. Well, this project worked out pretty well. I can slide that keyboard out of there. I've reclaimed all my desk space. I can easily get to my laptop when I'm recording. I've got room to play my guitar, pull over my microphone, and when I want to use that keyboard, I can pull it out and I can play it. It's very sturdy. I don't have to worry about it. And when I say play it, I'm using that term very loosely because I know little to nothing about playing a keyboard. In fact, if you see all these little blue stickers on here, that's pieces of masking tape that I wrote the notes on so I could figure out where they are. But don't you worry, I'll get this thing figured out. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.